Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning, Tammy,
Mhm.
and good morning to everyone who's out there with us today. And I just want to say I always appreciate you folks coming to listen to this show, and hopefully you walk away with some insight and information on how you can, again, bridge the gap between the betrayal and the hurt and start to reconcile and come together. If we talk about it's always been it's a struggle and it's a long process, and we're going to talk a little bit today about that struggle. But one thing I want to start off with first is I want to for you folks to know that I will be headlining a retreat, a virtual retreat weekend on February 26th through the 28th. You can find out more information about that by going to www.husbandmaterial, husband, no S, husbandmaterial.com/retreat. And we're going to be talking about inner child, but we're going to be talking more importantly about transformation of the man. We're going to be looking at, if you recall, if you've been a regular, the blind spots. How did they develop? How did we learn to become inwardly focused? All of that. So anyway, I really encourage you to go out there, take a look at that, and perhaps join us because it's also what we're going to be doing. I'm not just going to be talking the whole time over those 3 days. We're going to break our participants up into small groups, and they're going to have exercises that they're going to be doing, and they're going to be, you know, just conversing back and forth, learning how to develop that bond together. So anyway, check that out, husbandmaterial.com/retreat. So let's talk today. What I'm going to be talking about today is when the betrayer's anxiety gets in the way of the betrayed's recovery. I probably don't even really need to explain to most of you what that's about or what it looks like, but let me just share to you a case study of Sammy and Beverly. And Sammy, he crashes whenever Beverly starts to grieve. And what happens is she gets upset and she wants to start to ask the question, and his shame starts to arise within him, his guilt and his shame. And therefore, for him, he becomes so overwhelmed that he starts to just shrivel in front of her. And that's what she described it as. She goes, he just shrinks and I can feel it. And what would be happening with them, and I worked hard with him to try to explain the fact that it's her trauma and he can't see hostility, he has to see pain. um, but at one point, he started to chart the number of good days that she would have. And he got to a point where it was like 9 in a row. And I always tell the folks, and again, for you folks who may be new, I work with men, so you're going to hear me talk more about, he, she, and the pronoun, and with the he being the betrayer. But, I always tell these folks when they sit there and say, oh, yeah, things are really good, everything's great. I go, good, that's nice. But there's another storm coming. There's a storm coming. So anyway, he's keeping track of these dates, and then all of a sudden, a storm came, and he reached out to me and said, "I don't know what happened. Everything was so good. We were doing so well. I thought we were like on the pathway of moving beyond, and now we're back here, and I just feel so crushed." And a big part of Sammy's problem is that he has an attachment disorder, and he has a fear of abandonment. So whenever she starts to get upset, he starts to think, oh my gosh, this relationship is just going to hell. And that's not what's happening. She's just grieving. And finally, what I did was I got them together for a couple session and started out the couple session, and I asked her a couple questions. And this has been going on. They've been in treatment for almost a year. And I said, first of all, tell me, do you love Sammy? And she said, with all my heart. I love him with all my heart. Okay. Is your pain today, would you say that it is less than what you were suffering a year ago? And she goes, absolutely. It is much, it's dissipated a great deal. Okay. And then finally I said, do you have any thought in your head of ultimately walking away from this relationship? And she said, absolutely not. And he sat there and just started to cry. And hopefully at that point, it got through to him. Because that's what I said to him. I go, so what do you hear when you see this? And he goes, he said, I feel unworthy. I'm like, here we go. Here's the problem. Okay. It's not her, it's you. And the fact that you and your own insecurities, and we have to deal with those insecurities. So I'm happy to report that since then, and that was about 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, that they're doing well. She's had her moments. I told them, I go, stop counting days. We're not going to count days anymore. Okay, there's another storm coming. Another storm could come 2, 3 years from now. She gets triggered out of the blue with something. It's not going to be what it was at the beginning, but it's still going to be, difficult. But you got to stop seeing hostility. You have to stop seeing the hurricane, and you have to see pain. You have to see pain. So anyway, that's where I start out with that way there. So those who betray, right? What they should be doing is seeking to help reduce the anxiety of the person that they hurt. Okay, that I always tell the betrayer, you have two jobs. One, you have your own sense of healing that you have to do, but two, you're not going to help heal your partner, but you're going to be there to support, to show that you're in it, to show that you're invested, and that you're not going to run away any longer. So, you know, like I said, you're supposed to be there to help to lower their anxiety. But what happens in a lot of cases is that the betrayer in these grieving sessions, that's what I call them, grieving sessions, they start to suffer from increased anxiety. And so now we're in a catch 22 because here it is, the partner is grieving. She or he is in a state of emotional turmoil. And now the person who's supposed to be here as a form of support is nowhere to be found. Okay. Because they now have been, emotionally triggered with everything going on. So we have a catch 22, but that cannot be the way it is. That does not help to facilitate the conversation, okay? Because being engaged when your partner is grieving and feeling overwhelmed, okay, that's extremely helpful to them. And why? Well, three, three reasons I can think of. One, it communicates that you're not going to abandon them again. I can sit here with you. I'm not going to run away like I have in the past. And that is crucial. Second is you communicate, I'm not going to pull you through to the other side. We are going to walk through this process at your speed, and I'm going to be here as we go through that. Again, a very, very important message that you're delivering, because now what that's showing is you're outwardly focused and you're not inwardly focused any longer. And then finally, and probably one of the most important things, it shows your spouse, oh, I'm growing up. I'm becoming emotionally mature. Oh, wow, there's the guy or the gal who I thought I was marrying and they didn't see. So those are three things. So when none of that happens, because you're now withdrawing or you're being aggressive, because you're just trying to shut the thing down, what's happening is you become anxious. You're going to lose the opportunity to help the partner heal. Grieving is healing. You guys, who again, if you've been with me for over a year now with this, you've heard me say that. I know it doesn't look like healing, doesn't look anything like healing. It is healing. And because we're talking about it, and we're talking about it, and we're talking about it that is what helps to reduce the intensity of trauma. I wish there was another way. I wish there was something different for both of you, that we didn't have to go through that process of just talking, talking, talking. But I'll tell you this, when you get to the point where those who've been betrayed say, and I'm tired of talking, they're like, okay, I think maybe we're ready to really move on here. So we don't want to miss those opportunities to help the partner to heal. So what's going on here? What's happening that those who are betrayed are getting triggered themselves in these situations? Well, one, it goes back to the idea of what got you in trouble in the first place, and that is the inability to sit with emotional distress. Can't sit with our emotional pain. So we learn to distract ourselves. We learn to run away. We go and we run off to addictive behaviors, destructive behaviors. And that's what happened. The same thing is going on right now. You're in distress. It's an emotionally distressing situation. There's no doubt about it. But you can't sit with it. You don't want to sit with it. I don't expect you to want to sit with it. Okay. If you want to sit with that, then we have a lot of other issues dealing with your negativity and all of that. You don't want to, but we have to learn to do that. Think of it as almost like, baptism by fire in a way. Okay. It is like the one thing you've never done in your life, sit with emotional distress. And now, in one of the most distressful times of your life, you have to learn to sit here with this. It's a good thing, because it's going to help you not to give in to those behaviors any longer. But you have to learn to sit with that distress. So that's number one. Second thing is, rational thinking goes out the window. It's gone. All right. And that's where you need to stay. You have to stay with that rational thinking, because your partner has lost some of that ability because they are now emotionally charged. Everything coming out of the limbic system, the amygdala is going nuts. Okay. And it's just raw emotions that are coming out. And that's why a lot of times, people, when they're in that state and afterwards, the person who's been betrayed said, hey, you said this and this when we were, I don't remember saying that. And they don't. Okay. And, but therefore, somebody has to stay grounded and has to be there in a way that it is rational. Now, again, please do not think I'm not sitting here and saying, oh, you folks who are betrayed, you're just, you've lost it. You're like, lunatic. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is you're dealing with trauma, and with trauma comes this. This is the result of it, of anyone who's been traumatized. Okay, it's not that you want to do this. It's not that you're trying to be that way. It's just what it is itself. So the limbic system's running amok, and where rational thinking is starting to dissipate. So now what takes over? What takes over is that need, and that's what it feels like, a need to either freeze, run, I would say flight, fight, I'm sorry. So it's freeze, fight, being aggressive, or flight, which is withdrawing. That takes over. So therefore, where do you wind up with? You wind up with, one of three things that are going on. You have the betrayer who cannot think of what to say or do. They're just kind of zoned out. And, I ask my guys, I say, so what's going on in that moment? And they're like, you know what? The words seem very faint that are coming at me. It's like I can't really comprehend what's going on. You could tell they're dissociating. They're starting to move away from all of it. And it's like paralyzed in a sense of, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And even if I start to talk, the word don't seem to make sense. Even to me, they don't make sense. And what's happening in that circumstance is the guy won because he is being triggered by, what he's seeing as hostility. He lacked confidence. There's no confidence. And what he's searching for is, what are the words she wants to hear? What can I say that's going to quiet this all down? And that's the wrong approach. That is absolutely the wrong approach. We need to talk from the heart. See, the reason we're being so cautious is because we're fearful I'm going to get in more trouble. I'm going to say something that's going to make this even worse. That, defensive posture does not help the situation. You need to be confident. And in being confident, that means I can speak from the heart. Because one, I know over this period of time that we've been in recovery, I'm not doing anything wrong. That I am here for you and I want to help you heal. And I regret the fact that I put you in this spot. So I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on and how I feel about things, period. And that, because let me tell you, they can pick it up. They pick it up. And when you start to say, I think she wants to hear this, I think he wants to hear that, they know it. They see the lack of confidence. And that does nothing for them but to say, same person, same person. That means you must still be doing the same stuff. And you're like, no, I'm not doing the same stuff. I'm different. No, you're not different because you're not confident. You're not speaking from the heart. You're speaking from fear. You're allowing fear to take over. And that cannot happen. So that's part of what's really going on. Second guy is the one who explodes and tries to go toe to toe with that grieving partner. We're going to duke it out here, and I'm just going to keep going until I wear you down. And usually what happens is the one who's the betrayer who gets worn down by that. Actually, you both get worn down. There's no benefit whatsoever in going toe to toe. This is not a competition. This is not, again, there's too many guys who think, oh, she's just doing this because she just wants to be nasty. She just wants to be spiteful. And no, that's not true. She doesn't want to do this. She didn't sign up for this. She didn't stand at that altar and say, I do, though, that I want to see you. What the Christ you're going to throw in my way that I can just sit here and beat you up with a frying pan? That's not what happened. She was thinking happily ever after. She had dreams. You crushed them. And now you want all of a sudden to be better. Please make it all better. Let's just forget about it. Let's just move on. I'll do better. No, it doesn't work that way. These are the consequences of our actions. They're the consequences. And the people who can sit there and write out the consequences, those are the ones who get to the other side. And then we have the third guy, and this is the guy who just runs away. He's just like, you know what? I can't do this. I can't handle it. And just the first sign of anything that comes up where she's saying, I was thinking about, oh, hey, sorry, I got to go. No, I don't have time for this. And you don't give her the voice or him the voice. And now, so what you do is you just keep them with all the images running through their head, all the thoughts running through their head. That is not good. All that stuff percolating in there versus them putting it out to try to seek clarity, that's what we're looking for. So again, the whole concept of what you're trying to do in that moment is shut it down, whether it being defensive, whether it's being through aggression, or whether it is about withdrawing. So as I said before, the major issue for those who are betrayed is they've never learned to sit with the emotional distress. Now you're trying to find the tools, okay, that you can sit with this pain, but you find yourself in the midst of probably what is one of the most difficult and painful situations you've ever experienced in your life. And you're trying to work through that, okay? And that's where those who have been betrayed have to understand, okay, you know what? He or she, they're sitting here, they're trying, but now I can see they're starting to get a little overwhelmed. That's when we talk about them getting flooded. And then maybe we need a break. at times. Okay, we need a break. But again, if you're going to say, hey, I need a break, you need to also communicate is, I would love to keep this conversation going, but right now I just need to go collect my thoughts, but I will be back. If you do not utter those words, all you've done is created more damage, because now it's like, oh, you've left me again. I will be back. 4 words. And then you better make sure you get back there. You better make sure. If you're going to say, oh, let's talk tomorrow, let's talk in an hour, whatever it's going to be, you better make sure you are back there. Or once again, you just prove I can't be trusted. I can't be trusted. See, there's no question in my mind when I work with these men who are betrayed. They want to go deeper. They want to engage in more dialogue with the person that they hurt. But the only problem is they don't know how to do it. They never had the role model. Nobody ever showed them that, oh, emotions are healthy, they're good, we're supposed to share this, don't be afraid of them. In many cases, emotions were just shut off, they were turned away, we don't talk about that stuff, or they're really greeted with contempt. What the heck's wrong with you? Man up. And that and even though we've made major progress in this society over the last 40 years in trying to teach men it's okay to share and be vulnerable, that mindset of no, 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 men are strong, men do not cry, men do not share emotion, that that concept is still alive and well, unfortunately. And that's something that needs to be broken down more. So again, at the root of all of this, when those who are betrayed cannot engage, it is because of emotional immaturity and it's because of fear. I'm going to be in trouble, or I am in trouble. So as I end this, let me talk what the antidote for this. Again, it's simple. But as Cammy always like to add, it's not easy. And it's not. But it's simple. First and foremost, honey, I need to talk to you. I started thinking about things today. Okay, I'm going to slow everything down. Hey, why don't we go and grab a seat over here in the kitchen or in the living room? I'm going to go get a bottle of water. Would you like me to bring you something? Okay, we're going to slow everything down. Okay, she needs to talk. He needs to talk. I'm not in trouble. Okay, I'm not in trouble right now. I've done nothing wrong since that. They need more information. They may need to vent. Okay, they're grieving. They're grieving. So by doing this, because you can't sit there and go deeper unless you ensure that your thinking stays rational. And the only way your thinking going to stay rational, slow everything down. Okay. The next thing we want to do, if we want to make sure we are very focused and very mindful of what is being said, you want to hang on almost every word. And when something comes up and you just don't quite understand it, seek that clarification about it. Repeat back. Okay, so I think, so what you told me is you want to know about this, this, and this. It's going to do two things. One is going to again, keep everything slowed down, but two, reinforce in your mind, okay, this is what I need to be answering from a rational standpoint. All right. The next thing we want to do is we want to listen from the heart, not just in our ears, the heart. What is the mood that's being portrayed? Because everybody's looking at that mood and they're saying, ooh, just anger, hostility, venom. And it's not. Like I said, it may look like that, but that's not what it is. It's pain, it's humiliation, it's insecurity. Okay, it's feeling lost, hopeless, helpless. We can go down the laundry list. That's what is really there, and that's why sometimes if you don't, you need to validate what you believe that mood is. It seems like today is one of these days when you're feeling like, our relationship, there seems to be little hope for us. Is that right? She may say, yes, absolutely. It's exactly what I feel. Okay, I can understand that. Tell me some more about it. But don't be afraid to put something out there and that you may be wrong. Because she may say, no, that's not exactly, I don't feel that way at all. I don't feel hopeless. Why? Do you feel hopeless? No, I'm just trying to communicate to you. Again, I stay confident. No, I don't feel hopeless at all. I feel very good about our prospect. Well, why did you say that? I go, because of the mood I thought you were communicating to me. That's what I was looking at. And I was wrong. I'm sorry. Share with me. What is that? See, I'm staying calm. I am collect. I am confident in what I'm doing. So don't be afraid to, to just say, okay, I was wrong about that. Us counselors, we're wrong sometimes. We sit here and say, hey, so what I think you're, you know, maybe experience or feeling, and clients will say to me, like, no, that's not quite it. I don't sit there and say, oh, great, I got it wrong. I can't believe it. No, 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 no. That's exactly what you're feeling. I know it. No, it's like, you know what? Okay, that's not what it is. And then finally, and this is really, really important, is to be curious, to ask questions. And the reason being is not just the fact that we're trying to gain more insight, but two, when you start to ask questions, what you do is you start activating the prefrontal cortex, all right, the neurocortex. And now it's like, because now we have to start doing rational thinking. I got to answer a question. So hopefully some of the blood is flowing back from the, amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. And now it's like, oh, maybe we start getting into more of that rational thinking. And we're not doing that again to be deceptive. We're doing it because, again, this is helping to reduce their anxiety to some point. So, Tammy, that's what I got for you this week.
Great stuff. People, if they're seeing me on the screen, are probably going, she's just rocking. And I'm like, no, I'm nodding my head. It was fascinating when you talked about, early on about, dragging the partner like through things.
Through
And
it,
I
right.
have I have this visual of, like it is, come on, hurry up, catch up with me. I'm in recovery. And it's really easy to miss the nuances and give partners the space. I loved what you were sharing about Sammy and Beverly, that case, and how often that is the like my perception of what I'm experiencing and what I think you're saying and doing is completely wrong. She was going, no, I do feel more hopeful. I don't feel as traumatized. I do feel like things are moving in a right direction. And he, as soon as you said he was counting the days, I thought, uh-oh, like, because it isn't just about, getting a gold star. That's what it felt like. I'm getting a gold star.
That's what it
I
is.
did good today, and that just reminds me of the emotional immaturity of like, I'm the little kid. I need a gold star, and I
Right.
did good, so
But see, that ties into many men's need for that affirmation. Okay. They're looking for that affirmation, but this is not the place to get the affirmation from here. We're not trying to get information because, oh, I look at what a wonderful job I've done in helping you heal. It goes against it. So anyway,
and all of the antidotes that you were talking about, the listening with your heart, even the listening, because it so often it's like, I'm going to prepare what I'm going to respond to you because you're talking to me and I've got this defense, so to just calm it down and listen, and to reflect back. What I think I hear you saying is, that's so useful. The being curious. I had a difficult conversation with somebody the other day, and like I knew it was coming, and it like, because I'm sitting here going, what was this person thinking? And so I asked, but I didn't do it that way. I was like, I'm curious about, tell me more about this situation. And then I understood what happened. And like the context that I was viewing it from was different than the reality they were living it from. So, when I had more context, then we were able to come up with, possible solutions to prevent that from happening
Right.
again in the future.
Right.
All of those things. Had I just, pounced, it would have been detrimental to the relationship. It would have not gotten the desired result. So the times when I'm able to just back it off, take a deep breath, listen, be curious, is really helpful. Whether it's in my significant other relationship or any kind of context, there's always more to the story. There's always a lens that I'm not looking through. And so understanding, a friend of mine talked before about, it's like looking at a prism. We can be looking at the same thing, but we're looking from different sides. And so if I'm curious and tell me what your side of the prism looks like, I'm going to learn more. I'm going to gain information.
Right.
I won't have to be defensive, and it probably will be useful for the relationship. So great stuff. So,
Yeah. Good.
okay. So we've got a bunch of questions.
Okay.
Okay. Eddie, and this is going to be a challenge. Can you break down the fallacy of my husband's ideas that instead of addressing his years of sexual acting out and catastrophic consequences to family, our relationship, and lastly to myself, that we should be addressing my flaws, imperfections that I brought to our marriage? There has been no infidelity on my part in a 30-year marriage. I can't open a discussion about his behaviors, his lack of recovery, help for myself or our relationship without blame shifting. Help.
Okay. I hope he's on this video right now, but he's just part of this.
And the
If he's
video will be posted. So, if he's
okay.
not, you can give to him. So,
Right. Right. We're gonna let him see it. First and foremost, there is a time and a place to address the different resentment that both people have. Okay, but it is not now. It is not in this recovery phase. This is later on when we are seeking reconciliation and we're doing couples counseling. And then we can sit there and we can start to look at the ledger for both people. But right now, I mean, what he's doing, he's just using this. This is the shame he feels. And he is shutting you down so he does not feel the shame that's there. And he needs to say, no, okay, you know what? There will be a time when I can talk about some of the resentments I have, but it is not during this recovery period. It is when you finally get to a point where you're like, hey, you know what? I feel like I'm healing. I feel like you are invested in me. Because he's not giving you that message. He's not giving you the message, yes, I'm invested in you. What he's giving you the message is, hey, I need stuff. I need it. And it's like, whoa, wait a second, man. Haven't you just done what you needed to do on your own for 30 something years without, thinking about the consequences that are going to come with that? It's your turn now to move outwardly focused, to be that way, to stop being selfish, to say, what is it you need from me to help you heal? And once you get to that point where you start to say, oh, this is the new guy, and that's what part of the retreat is going to be. Here's the new guy. Here's the guy who is more focused on what I need and want than what he needs and want. Then you get to a point where you say, wow, you know what? I think I want to invest back in him again. And at that point, that's when you go into the reconciliation work. And then he can bring up, hey, here are some of the issues I've had in our relationship over the years. But right now, he's just using that as, camouflage to not feel the shame he has over his own action. And he's going to have to wake up and realize and say, whoa, you know what? This is not a good approach.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as he's deflecting, it isn't moving your relationship forward. So, it's good. It will continue to shoot the relationship in the foot, so to speak. So I'm really sorry for you, because that's a terrible place to be
Yeah, it
in.
is. It is.
If it's all you. Like a
Yeah.
long time ago, and I can't remember what it was about, but somebody said, if you're pointing a finger at out, remember all the other fingers point back at you. And I've always remembered that. It's like, if I'm going,
Mm,
you're the whatever, there's still a whole bunch with me. So
Right, right. I'm sorry, I was giggling before because I was looking in the chat thing and I saw somebody who ran off this thing said 9999998 or
Yeah.
88889 and it said, "Oops, sorry, that was our cat."
Yeah, my cat has done the same thing where it sat on the computer and I'm going, oh, please don't send any emails. But
Uh,
okay, so next
all right,
question.
next
How
question.
do I respond to my husband's anger that our relational healing is about healing your partner's healing that he says he continually hears and reads? So
Give
he's
that.
angry that he has to deal with the partners. Apparently, from what I'm reading, he's thinking that he should just get to do my recovery work and then everything should be all better. That's
No,
what I'm reading.
well, yeah, but that's not right. That's not realistic. You know, this is not a one-sided, recovery process. There are two people who are in recovery. Okay, those who betrayed are in recovery because of whatever the destructive sexual, acting out they've done. Why did I do this? How did I act this? Why did I act this way? And then how do I learn to manage it? But on the other side, the person who now in recovery, who didn't want to sign up for recovery, had no interest in doing recovery, doesn't want to be in a counselor's office, doesn't want to be in group therapy, but they're doing that work so that they can heal from their trauma. And the folks over in this camp who have caused that trauma, sorry, folks, whether you're male or female and you've done this, you got to get out of your own damn head. You have to start looking across the way and you have to see the pain you cause. And I know it sucks. I know nobody wants to be attacked. I know nobody wants to be called names. I know nobody wants any of that. But you cause trauma. And with that, there's healing that has to take place. As I said to you before, he or she did not sign up for this. This is not what this relationship was supposed to be. And now you're complaining and you're crying over here because, oh, life is so hard. This is terrible. When are you going to get over this? I can't. And I'm sorry. You know what? This is me. I punch people in the face. But that's what I think needs to be done at times. You got to get over yourself and you have to start thinking about those people you injured.
Recover. Addiction is all about me. Me. It's I want to do what I want to do. I want to do my acting out. I want to do and
Right.
so you can be in
But Tammy,
abstinence.
Tammy,
Yeah.
aren't we supposed to be getting over the me,
No, that's
right?
right. So that's where I was going with this.
Right,
Is like in addiction, it's me. If we want to heal, if we want to be different, if we want to be more than just stopping the acting out. I mean, you can stop the acting out. We've talked before about that. Dry
right.
drunk, miserable,
Yep.
you're miserable to yourself, miserable to everybody else. In recovery, we learn to care about other people. We learn to put our relationships with other people as a central focus of doing life differently. Dr. Rob has talked often about the opposite of addiction is healthy attachment. It's not healthy attachment if it's still all about
No,
me.
it's not.
So you can you cannot be in active recovery and still being all about selfish
Right.
me.
And
That's
that's why one of the top blind spots that I have is the idea of being outwardly focused. You
yeah.
have to be there. So, okay,
Yeah.
what do we got next?
The next one is thank you so much for your inner child podcast with Dr. David Fawcett. So on sexandrelationshiphealing.com, there's a podcast tab and you can find that. He's also done one with Dr. Rob on sex, love, and addiction. So this person, that was an aside. So my CSAT has been talking to me about this and I wasn't really hearing it or ready to hear it. That is so often the case. Not only do I see the reasons why I act out or react in situations, but I'm seeing my partner's inner child, and he has some resistance to therapy in the past, but he's been going and this has resonated with him. We now understand each other so much better. We have a long way to go. Recovery is a journey. However, he also He has always slept around with women since we got together. So, gay couple. Once he committed to each other, it slowed way down, but it happens. It's not a secret, and I don't feel jealous. My sponsor and my counselor think that I allow him, and I'm in denial about how damaging this is to my well being, confidence, and self worth. What are your thoughts? We really do need to be monogamous. I don't sleep around with anyone else, by the way. Also, um, I put the correct link. It's husbandmaterial.com /retreat. Uh, you'll find the information that's in the chat.
Right,
So what are
right.
your thoughts on
Well, I
this?
mean,
Is
what?
early in recovery too.
Yeah, right, right. And what you have is you have a relationship that was, designed one way or set up one way, which was saying, hey, you know what? It's okay. I'm not going to be jealous that you do this. And now it's like, oh, guess what? We're going to go 180 over here. Um, that is going to be an adjustment for the person who was stepping out. But now it becomes okay. The big question is, what is the commitment? Are you willing to make this new commitment? This is what I need now. I need for us to be just you and I, monogamous. Can you do this? Are you willing to do this? Do you desire to do this? And I think until you start to work through that aspect of it first and foremost, kind of hard to put the rest of the pieces together. So I don't know. What are you thinking, Tammy?
Yeah, I mean, it's very complicated, and I know that there are people that successfully navigate, open relationships. I'm too selfish. That would never work for me. That's me. But I always wonder, you know, it's one of those things. As long as everybody agrees on the parameters, and you absolutely, there isn't secrets, there isn't lies. Everything is discussed up front. If it's working for you, I guess it's working for you. And in early recovery, we talk about 90 days abstinence. We talk about a whole bunch of things that, give us a cooling off period and figuring out some things. So I would encourage you both to be working with your sponsors, be working with, the people, the therapists and support people, to navigate this. And I would also be wondering, what is, what does he perceive that, because he's having sex with women. So what does he perceive that he needs? His perception is that he needs from that, that it's missing from your relationship. On some level, relationships are always a choice. Are
Mm-hmm.
there other people out there? Absolutely. But if I'm choosing to be in this particular relationship, there's a reason, and I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that this one is successful, so that it meets my needs, it meets my partner's needs, all of those type of things. So
Right.
so yeah, it's complicated. You're early on, you're asking the right questions. Glad you're here. Hopefully both
Yeah.
of you are finding that helpful.
Yeah.
Join that retreat. So
There's also the idea too that you said once we made the commitment, it slowed way down. Once we made a commitment to each other, well, then you know what? You didn't really make the commitment to each other. He didn't make that commitment, so therefore you have to kind of go back and look at that. So we missed the question earlier, Tammy. I don't see it in this. It's from Drew. Um,
yeah, that's in the chats. I'm trying to go. I always do
okay,
the ones
okay,
in
because
the
that was
Q and
like one
A
of the
first.
earlier ones. I just
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
get to that if possible.
Well, um, we can, okay. Like I try to be very orderly in things. So it's challenging. So any questions, if you keep them in the Q&A, they get answered better.
Mhm.
This one says, I'm not angry at my partner for the type of aggression that you are talking about. I accept my responsibility for causing this pain, but she has been physically and verbally violent many times. That's never okay.
Nope,
Never okay.
nope.
Ironically, as I entered recovery and set boundaries, I no longer tolerate the way she communicates her pain, physical and verbal violence, even though I accept I caused her pain. I feel pressured to tolerate anything she does, no matter what. I am not looking for a quick way out, but I don't accept. At what point am I allowed to leave?
All right. Well, again, as Tammy said before, there is never, ever, ever a time where physical, violence is accepted. And whenever she gets physically violent, yes, you can just get up and go. Verbally, I mean, you're gonna. encounter some of that. There's nothing there. I asked you a follow-up question about how long it's been going on, and it's rather
It's
early.
5
It's been 5
months.
months, but
Right.
still, she needs to move away from the physical violence. And as I said, once that starts, that's when you can say, "Hey, you know what? I want to be here. I want to work through this with you, but I am not going to sit here and endure this." And you can then walk away. Okay, and that's what I would encourage you to do. I can't tell you when you should walk away from the relationship in general. As you said, you're both young, you don't have kids, all of that. I thought 5 months is early. And if you really do love her and you really want this relationship, you want to be committed, you may, say, hey, I'm willing to hang in here, but there does need to be the boundaries. There can be absolutely no violence whatsoever. So,
So there's a lot more in the chat, and I'm not going to go through all of
okay.
those, but
Yep.
it
We don't
says
have to.
our therapist, well, no, our therapist believes that she is codependent. Please read Prodependence, Moving Beyond Codependency. There is no diagnosis for codependent. And
Mhm.
and codependence would be in my opinion, false diagnosis, because it's not even a diagnosis. But she's violent and abusive, and that is not a codependent thing, even if you do believe in codependence.
No, it's not.
So they're having boundaries, working with a therapist to mediate how you navigate conversations. If that doesn't work, at some point, it is not safe. You shared in your chat, I do not feel safe. We are not supposed to be in relationships where we just don't feel safe, and are physically and emotionally and verbally abused. Betrayed partners often are. You're working on doing recovery, fantastic. Keep doing what you need to do, get support for you. But setting safety, physical safety, you
Right.
have to be safe. So, okay,
Yep.
we got a bunch more in the Q&A.
I
If my
know. Keep.
husband has exuded 18 of 20 signs of covert narcissism over our 25-year marriage, he refuses to do the work to talk about his addictions or my pain. For the last 2 years, I've always come back around to my flaws. Is there any hope of deeply ingrained narcissists to change enough for relational healing, or should I stop wasting my time hoping? So every addict is a narcissist. I don't know
Right.
if you were doing an online screening or whatever. Every active addict is a narcissist. We are so focused on us and our ability to act out and our ability to do what we need to do, want to do. So we all look like narcissists.
Right.
In recovery, we can change. But if he is absolutely not willing to do anything, at some point, you've got research. He's
Hmm.
telling you constantly it's your fault. He's not going to change. So
Right.
what are
So
your
you know
thoughts?
what I see here,
What?
Tammy? Lack of boundaries. 2 years. We've been doing this for 2 years now, where it always comes back to your flaws. Okay. Yeah, Tammy's right. We are. If we're an addict, we are a narcissist. But we need to be looking to change that. So where are your boundaries? Where is it that you're going to say, hey, look, you know what? You need to be working on this. You need to change. I need to see a different guy. And if I don't, here's the consequence. And if you don't have that, then you're right. You're just going to go round and round in circles. But you may find that you put your boundaries out there and he says, no, I'm not doing it. And then you have your answer. But again, it takes the courage to say and to face the fact that, oh, I may need to, make a pretty drastic decision here with this relationship. If this person is saying, no, what I want is more important than what you want. So,
So I'm going to pop back over to the chat, even though this is
okay.
okay. So he continues. I feel this is very absolutist. I'm trying to be open-minded and have embraced the level of deference to my girlfriend's pain and trauma out of responsibility for causing it. And I love her, and my love for her, but the feedback I'm getting, I'm getting from our couples therapist, not a CSAT, but experience with addictions, and from my SLAA groups, is that I cannot drag her into my recovery. I can't drag her into recovery. She's not an addict. She doesn't need
Right.
recovery. She needs to heal from trauma and things like that. And yeah, I mean, the nice thing is you get to pick. We're sharing information. You're putting some things in a chat. A absolutist. Yeah, I mean, I never believe that violence is okay. I do not believe that anybody hitting anybody is okay. So I don't believe in verbally abusing people. I don't think that that is helpful. It does not move a relationship forward. So I don't believe in working with a non-trained professional. It's like going to a GP when you need cancer help. You need the right level of help. So you get to pick. You can stay with the girlfriend. You can remain in a verbally abusive, violent relationship. Please don't have children.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, really, I hope she gets help and support,
Right.
but unless she is in an addiction and needs to do her own recovery work around her addictions, the recovery is healing. Somebody uses, because I get really caught up in the old Al-Anon stuff of, you need to do your recovery work, and it's like, stay on your side. And recovery for a partner is healing the deep wounds, of betrayal, etc. But again, it does not justify, and it doesn't help anything if you continue to just be in a verbally abusive, uh, violent, relation. How is that helping either of you? But you get to pick. So we're not saying absolutists. We're saying, you know, you asked some perspective. Here's some perspective. So,
Right. Okay.
okay.
I think
All
we got
right.
two more.
Sure. Maybe strange question, but why does it hurt so much to feel unworthy and feeling bad about ourselves? I experienced this myself also while I was in so much pain. It was nowhere in my body, but purely in my brain. Please explain.
It probably is in your body. You're probably just not aware of it. It's usually the body tells all. But that being said, why does it hurt so much? The feeling of not being worthy, the feeling of not feeling accepted, not belonging, not loved. That's crushing, because what it is, it goes against all of the core needs that we have as human beings. And that's why it hurts so much whenever we're feeling bad about ourselves. And what it is, we bought into the negative narratives that we picked up years and years ago. They are the lies that people instilled within us. And we just take those to believe they're there. And as you even said, it's like purely in my brain. So it's just those thoughts, the negative thought, the toxic thinking. And what you need to do is start to address each one of those. And I can't remember the name of the book. I just read it. Something about the brain, and what she has in there is a 21-day detox
Mm.
program where you're going to take your negative thought and you're going to put it down, and then for the next 21 days you're going to start writing about what is the opposite. Okay, so I'm not lovable. The opposite part of that is, no, I am lovable. And you're going to spend 21 days sitting and writing why you are lovable. And you're going to, put in pictures and different things like that. And you're going to learn to open up new neural pathways so that you can start thinking differently. We can change the way we think, but it takes time and it takes effort.
That is amazing. I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, I would need to write down for every time I had a negative thought about some ridiculous message that somebody had told me that I was unworthy. I would be writing, I am lovable, I am worthy, I am,
Right.
I whatever positive message. I literally have done this before, and I would have post-it notes all over, and
Uh,
all of those messages would be replacing the negative, you know I'm old. I want to say the 8-track tape in my brain, of that's going around in a loop, and but if you are not um, doing anything positive to interrupt that brain, tape, this is it just keeps playing, so,
gonna,
so
gonna
so
run
I
amok.
love that idea of the 21 days of replacing.
Yeah.
My therapist has me doing the tapping, and it's, I have a specific positive message that I tap, and and it is like it gets to the right part of the brain
Good
and
stuff.
helps. So
The
yeah,
name of that book is Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf, Leaf. Switch on Your Brain. Excellent book.
Dr. Caroline Leaf. You'll get it. I'm sending it to the chat.
Okay.
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 Last question.
Nice
Um,
question.
uh, my SLA partner used to count the days every time we were having a good moment, and he was always afraid of the storm to hit. After our last fight, and that got out of control really fast, he decided he couldn't do it anymore and proposed to take a time apart to think if it's worth staying in this relationship or not. Our couples therapist called for a therapeutic separation because things got too intense due to the fight. I do feel like I do feel like being abandoned while grieving because he decided we should not communicate at all during this time. Is that running away or is that part of recovery of SLA? Thank you.
Well, again, there are therapeutic separations, but therapeutic separations have guidelines. They have boundaries. There are all right, how long do we think this is going to last? How often are we going to get together during the separation? Where are we going to do that? What is it all going to look like? If that is not part of your therapeutic separation and you guys are just apart, then yes, that's running away. Okay, that is not part of recovery. So that's when you have to look at it. Um, and if he just ran away, then you have to make a decision, hey, and go back to the therapist and say, this is not a therapeutic separation, and go do some research about it and what it looks like and say, this is what I need. Are you going to give it to me or not? Now, here again, the boundaries. And as I said, boundaries are hard to put in place because boundaries are only as good as the consequences. And so therefore you have to think long and hard to say, ooh, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to put out that consequence, knowing that I may have to pull the trigger on that. So anyway, that's what I'd be looking at.
Yeah, and I caught that he decided he couldn't do it anymore and proposed to take a time apart
Yeah.
and to think about if it's worth staying in, but 100% agree. A therapeutic separation has guidelines and has rules. It has how we are going to communicate, when we're going to communicate, if it's with your therapist, initially to establish some, oh my goodness. So establish some guidelines as to how that, but I hear too often from people who we've been separated 2.5 years or 3 years. And I'm like, what is the plan for re-engaging? Because otherwise that's just called separation. And I think it's very challenging because there's no real plan. Taking a pause, particularly if things got
Yeah,
out
there
of
is no
control.
plan in that scenario, Tammy. There's no plan there. You know what? They're just riding it out,
Yeah.
and that's not there's nothing solid about any of that. So,
So
ooh, we're
there
out of
can
time.
be, yes, and there can be closure if you guys are not going to remain together, then hopefully you're having it not just be, ghosting and things like that, but have here's how,
Oh,
here's how we can navigate this in a different way.
right.
Emotionally mature would be a good thing. So
Mm,
we are out of time.
yes.
Thank you again. I look forward to, so I posted where the video will be. It'll be up later today.
Right.
Join us again next month. And if you missed it, so on thehusbandmaterial.com site, you can find out more about Eddie's retreat,
Yeah.
which is
Again,
February.
that slash
Yeah,
retreat at the end. So yeah, and thanks everybody for turning out. This I enjoy this format so much. I love
me
working
too.
with Tammy, and I hope you guys are getting a lot of good wisdom out of it along the way. So blessings
I
to all of
am.
you.
Thank you. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.